Welcome to the Everyone's a Critic movie review podcast. I'm your co-host, Bob Zerl.
And hey, I met you. You are not cool.
With me, as always, is professional film critic Sean Patrick.
I am the smart. I am the smart. S-M-R-T. I mean S-M-A-R-R-T.
And Josh Adams.
Stick around.
Visit us at IHateCritics.net. We're also on Facebook at Everyone's a Critic podcast. Or on Twitter and Instagram at CriticsPod. We're on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play. And if you want to be a Patreon supporter, IHateCritics.net/Patreon. That helps grow the show. We'll read the credits later on in the show. If you want to help support the podcast as well, go to iTunes and subscribe. And then write a rating and review, and we'll read the review on the air, which we've done the last few episodes. We have a big week this week, so I'm just going to try to get moving into it. We'll start with our trailers. Overboard.
Yeah, great. A new movie from Eugenio Derbez. I can't wait. He is so terrible. Hollywood, what is it about this guy that you want to... Do you think this is going to work? Is there that much of a niche audience that wants to see this guy? How to Be a Latin Lover didn't make money? And Anna Faris is way too good to be in a movie with him. She's much funnier than he is. This is terrible. What an awful trailer.
Imagine my surprise when I found that it existed because I saw a post from Overboard's official page saying Overboard came out 30 years today. And later in the same day, my girlfriend tags me in the trailer for this, and I had no idea it existed. And it's turning the premise around a little bit. Anna Faris is basically Kurt Russell, and Eugenio, no funny guy. Yeah. The Latin Lover movie, is that him? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, maybe he's funny somewhere else, but he certainly doesn't appear to be in the trailer, and the trailer is terrible. I really don't understand why they're bothering with this. It's one of those shake my head, wonder why somebody needs the $15 million that this movie's going to make. And
yeah, I would have gotten it. Like, okay, you switch it around, okay, but I mean, when he's finding out he has amnesia, he's like, I'm not rich. I have to work. I mean, it's like he knows. He's like, yeah. I mean, Goldie Hawn did better than, she at least was confused. This is just, I mean, in the trailer, he just pretty much says, this is a bad movie. Don't come see me. And so, I mean.
But especially you're talking about a remake of a Goldie Hawn movie with Anna Faris. You would think she would play the Goldie Hawn role just because she's so in that vein.
Yeah.
But we're clever. We're going to flip it around. See? No, you're an idiot. Don't make this movie.
I'm wondering if the reason they premiered the trailer that day is to give it the only possible good exposure that it could have by being attached to the older film.
Yeah, and she definitely deserves an actor better than that.
Oh, yeah.
To be alongside with her. And then the Ocean's 8 trailer came out as well this week.
Yeah, not bad. I'm interested. Good cast. Really good cast. Some funny moments. I liked it.
Yeah, I'm not sure who some of the cast, like, who's Aquafina? Is she like a singer?
I don't know who she is.
Or something like that? I'd never heard the name before, but as a group, I'm interested. And Soderbergh is directing it, or is producing it. And Gary Ross is written and directed. This is a solid director-writer. And then on top of that, she's Danny Ocean's sister, Sandra Bullock is. Oh, okay. I wasn't aware of that, but at least it's not a flat-out remake like Ghostbusters was, and you're just putting females in the role. This is a continuation of that universe, and you're wondering, how can this possibly happen again? And so I'm trusting them to be smart enough with it, and also trusting the cast involved, the ones that I at least know, especially the two leads. I think that could be fun.
I want to see that Clooney cameo.
Oh, I'm sure it's coming, yeah.
Do you think they're going to cut out the Damon cameo? The petition's going around saying to.
Anymore, man, I don't know.
I don't want to say anything. Yeah, I like the idea. I mean, because all these actresses are so different that could be fun. Kind of like Ocean's 11 was. Mm-hmm. And then Mark Hamill came out and said, it's not my Luke Skywalker.
Isn't that nice? Okay, well, I've got about, 300,000 40-plus-year-olds that would be happy to, buy you a beer for saying that. That's fine. Moron. Okay, maybe that's why he... No, I love Mark Hamill. I really do. I like a lot of the things that he does to troll people that are abusing their power, et cetera, too. But in this particular case, he knows what he's doing. And by saying that, he undermines what the filmmakers have done a little bit. Instead of saying, I really like the fact that they challenged me to do this, and the fact that the director brought a performance out of him that he's never had in his entire career before, okay? Instead of honoring that, he manages to let that slip in, and he knows what he's doing. So he at least he's being honest. I'll give him that, I suppose. But if you didn't want to do it, then just don't do it. Just say this was a money grab and you hated being involved with it at all, instead of giving credit where credit is due.
But hasn't he said though that he liked the movie, even though he didn't necessarily agree with what they did with Luke Skywalker?
Yes. What I'm saying is we were worried, or at least I know that you had stated that you were concerned about his comments about Rian Johnson doing something that he didn't agree with the character. And it's not like he seems to have changed his mind. And, okay, that's fine. But when you say not my Luke Skywalker, that's a very trendy thing to say. Not my Star Wars, not my whatever. You're specifically aligning yourself with the group of people that are
I think the context is different, though. I think people are taking it into a context where he's agreeing, like he's agreeing with the trolls who don't like the movie, and I don't think that's necessarily what it is. He likes the movie. He's saying that this isn't the way I wanted to play Luke Skywalker. He wanted him to still be hopeful and not battle weary.
And
okay,
I'm wondering how much of it's a headline and how much of it's unique being. Did you actually?
Yes, I did.
You heard the way you said it,
and heard no, but read within the context of it. If that's the case, and it's simpler than I'm making it out to be, I'll concede that. I just think that he's a bright enough guy. I've seen enough of the things that he's said and he's done over the past number of years here to know that making that statement, he knows what he's doing there. So I think I'll go halfway on this.
I did enjoy Rian Johnson's statement, more or less grow up.
Yeah.
That's basically what he said.
I continue to have to defend this to some people, and I don't quite get it.
Bob had to see it again.
Bob has now seen Star Wars The Last Jedi as many times as I have.
And more than me.
It's very boring the second time.
Really? You thought so?
Well, the 2.5 hours, you felt it more the second time. Because when you're watching it the first time, those twists, in a lot of, I was telling my brother, because he hasn't seen it, and I was comparing it to Marvelous, because in a lot of ways, it just keeps going in different directions where you're not expecting it to go.
Okay.
And I enjoyed that about the first, once I know where they're going, and I'm with my son, and I'm just kind of like, I'm ready to go. I want to see Pitch Perfect 3. Not that I want to see it, but it would have been better for the show. But yeah, it's still good. Probably still my favorite Star Wars movie, but it definitely wasn't as fun as it was the first time. But
yeah, it was definitely more emotionally resonant for me the second time. Instead of being surprised by something, I knew it was coming, let it in, and it hit harder.
Well, and that's the other thing is certain things aren't going to hit me as hard because I have no history with these characters. Like watching Kevin Smith cry about R2-D2 and Luke Skywalker for 90 minutes on Facebook.
You said if you have an hour and a half of free time, which I was off of work all week due to illness, and I'm sitting there saying, I do. So I did watch about 25 minutes of it, and then I fell asleep. No offense to Kevin Smith. It was...
Oh, it's just him talking in a room on Facebook.
Yeah. He's the kind of guy I would want to talk to me about that movie. I just thought about this. Mark Hamill says it's not his Luke Skywalker. It's also not my Luke Skywalker, but it is now. So deal with it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It is now. That's canon. This is literally wiping away all of the shit that you had in your head for 34 years, and this currently exists. So it actually is your Luke Skywalker, whether you want it to be or not.
There was something Kevin Smith mentioned before we get to the 15 movies we got to cover.
Yeah, sorry.
He had said if kind of felt like a middle finger to J.J. Abrams movie. Did you? And I felt that way too, which I liked about it. But because he literally undid everything J.J. Abrams did.
You know as well as I do that they had an outline for all three of these films going in. And so you can change little things and set up a particular tone for your movie and maybe alter the timeline of when certain things in The Last Jedi take place. And they also had to work around Carrie Fisher's death a little bit in terms of editing the film. So maybe, but I doubt it. They hired him again for the the third film. I don't think it's a middle finger. I think it's possibly there to throw us off onto what an outline that is going to be followed through already is.
Either one of those works for me, but
Yeah.
I do like the idea of the middle finger. Force Awakens. All right, Jumanji. We got a lot of these to cover.
Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle. And it's interesting. Before I got a chance to see this, a critic friend of mine was watching it and texted me in the first 10 minutes going, "This sucks." And I was like, but then by the time it was over, she goes, "Okay, that wasn't that bad." And really, that's what this movie is. It's not that bad at all, really. Jumanji stars The Rock as Dr. Smolder Bravestone. He's a character in a video game. These group of kids get sucked into the game. The nerd goes into The Rock. The jock goes into Kevin Hart, who's Mouse Finbar. The really hot girl, popular girl, goes into Jack Black, and the nerdier girl goes into Karen Gillan. And I really loved what The Rock does with this role. He is just so smart. He plays it just like that kid would have played it if you were there. And exploring his powers a little bit, exploring his strength a little bit, but also still being very sensitive and just really, really smart and cute. I adored what The Rock did. And the other one that really stuck out for me was Jack Black. Jack Black really, really great in this movie. He's not been this good in a very long time. I thought he was going to overplay the kind of mincing that you might do if you're a grown man who's supposed to be a teenage girl, but I thought he found a really great place, an actual genuinely sensitive place to play this part, and I especially loved the way that he and Joe Jonas connect on screen. I thought it was really sweet. It could have been icky, or it should have been icky, really, but it turned out to be actually clever and sweet, and I really enjoyed that, and I thought those two characters especially had really strong arcs to where they from where they start to where they ended, and I really liked that. If I got a problem with it, Kevin Hart is pretty much doing Kevin Hart in the movie. He's doing all that kind of screeching. He doesn't really explore the character that he's supposed to be. He's that character, but he's just doing Kevin Hart. Karen Gillan also just doesn't have much to do. The dance fighting thing is kind of funny. She dance fights to Ace of Base, Don't Turn Around. That's one of her character skills. And that was cute, but again, she also wasn't. It's not her fault. She just wasn't given much time to work with her character the way The Rock and Jack Black were given. And Joe Jonas is good too. He plays the kid who first goes into the game and is stuck there for a much longer time. And I liked the way his story played out. I liked this movie. I thought that was really clever. I thought it had strong action, a well-told story, good characters, and I also had a very low bar. I really thought this wasn't going to be very good, but it turns out it's actually maybe the best movie this weekend.
It'll be a recurring theme this episode.
In terms of the new releases, not the limited releases like Darkest Hour or whatnot. We'll get to those eventually, but
right. Yeah, no, I saw it too, and I agree. I thought Karen Gillan did as good as she could have with what she had. And then Kevin Hart, at time he was doing Kevin Hart most of the time. Every now and then he'd try, but then he'd go back to Kevin Hart. But Kevin Hart's funny, so I didn't care that much. I mean, it'll never make a top 10 list, but it's for what it is, it succeeded. Did you see it?
No, you'll find a lot of silence from me over here. I did not get to the theater once this week. Good job, Josh.
Josh was very sick, though.
I watched stuff that I had already and didn't have to venture out to go find.
The next movie up would be Pitch Perfect 3.
Pitch Perfect 3, picking up the story of the Barden Bellas. They're out in the real world now trying to work real-world jobs. They get an invitation to a performance that they think is going to be them performing together, and it turns out to be not them. And the movie throughout engages in what I call the comedy of the awkward pause, which is the kind of comedy that's taken over since it seems like around 2005 or so, where characters say really awkward. Well, one character will say something really, really awkward and uncomfortable. Everybody will sit there for a beat, and then they just go on because they know that character is weird. And this movie does that so often in the first half of this movie that I was really starting to get angry. But then it finds another gear. Surprisingly enough, they find another gear in this movie. They introduce a character played by John Lithgow, who is Rebel Wilson's dad in the movie. And where they go from there is so stupid but so funny. There's no possible way that this should work. This is not the movie where this should be, but it's there, and they actually do make it work Rebel Wilson is so funny in this movie. She's physical and she's just really hilarious. She just nails every point. And the ending, when that ending comes, you're like, how did this movie get to here? I don't know, but I couldn't stop laughing by the end.
Yeah, I didn't get to see this because I had to see Star Wars again because my son did not want to see Pitch Perfect 3. But all these movies seem to have been fully aware of what they were, and that seemed to be what makes the Pitch Perfect series work for what it does. It sends out a trailer that with a really low bar, then it starts out bad to lower the bar a little bit further, and then it just goes, all right, here you go, step on over. And I mean, there's nothing wrong. I mean, that can be entertaining, and I've been entertained by it. I don't love these movies, but I like them all right, and my daughter and wife love them. So it's
the thing about this movie, about the Pitch Perfect films. I didn't like the first one. The first one's the one I liked the least.
Was the worst.
The second one is same thing of what you said. Like they set a low bar with a bad trailer, and then it turned out to be, Elizabeth Banks is a pretty smart director, and she came up with a lot of real clever lines and got the characters where they needed to be. And this one is just throw it all against the wall and see what's funny. And they find funny. They go away from that comedy with the awkward pause. They start telling actual jokes in the second half of the movie.
Go see it, Josh.
No. I was lost with the first one. If you're saying it's the worst of them, fine. But you've still got, no. I mean, singing in the movie, it so resembles musical awkwardness to me. There's something about it that just makes my skin crawl a little bit, and it relates to the musical. And I know that seems silly, but I sat there and I watched the first Pitch Perfect movie out of good faith and hated it so much that I didn't desire to see that second one. So I don't know a single thing that would get me to see this third one, unless you paid me. And I know that we can go with the movie pass one a day, and I still think you'd have to pay me.
Yeah, no, I kind of like moments of the first one, but overall it's pretty shitty. But yeah, I think I have much more to add. The Greatest Showman.
Yes, Hugh Jackman playing P.T. Barnum. Ah, man, this really sucked. It's a lovely looking movie, especially for a first time director. I believe his name is Josh Gracie. As a first time director, yeah, that's pretty impressive that he put together what he puts together in terms of the production design. But we're talking about a story that is soporific. The songs are mediocre empowerment ballads, and it's just lame. The idea that P.T. Barnum was just this kindly old uncle to his freaks. Yeah, I'm sure he was. Whatever, you fucking lying piece of shit movie. P.T. Barnum was a horrible human being. Just a god-awful person. And this movie tries to put a little bow on it and tell you, no, he loved these people. Tom Thumb was 22 years old. No, Tom Thumb was 5 when he took him out of his home and put him in a freak show and had him drinking wine and smoking on stage. He was 5. And they're telling me in the movie he's 22. Shut up. Lying bastards. So, yeah, real history did kind of get into this for me. And really, again, it was a hurdle that this movie was not going to get over, was trying to make P.T. Barnum into some kind of kindly old uncle, the way The Darkest Hour does to Winston Churchill. At least that movie, they made a good movie on top of it. At least their lie is at least within a good movie. This movie is just a straight-up lie in a bad movie, and that makes it so much worse.
But is that lie in Darkest Hour? We'll get to that one in a little bit, but that's kind of a moment in time, right? Or is it? Or I don't know. It just seemed like from the trailer.
There's a scene in there that is egregious.
But this one's just as a long. I mean, one, you're cartooning it up to a musical, and I don't know. I think there's a good movie here, if you want to be honest. I don't know. I mean, The Dollop did a great podcast on it, which we probably over-reference on the show, but I would watch that movie, be honest at least. I mean, this guy's essentially Donald Trump, and not, in a lot of ways, and love him or hate him. I mean, I could see people being on that side and approving of what he does, and that's fine, but at least be honest with it, not full-on lie about it, Own it, and you can still make this movie if you own up to it. It still works that way. I don't understand why you don't do that.
Wow, you kind of blew my mind with the Donald Trump thing. That's actually perfect. That's a perfect description of this. The who P.T. Barnum, the mixture of P.T. Barnum, who he really is, and this bullshit Fox News Live that is The Greatest Showman.
Well, it seems like from the trailers, and I don't know anything about Barnum, but it seems like he came from very humble beginnings and made himself a multimillionaire or whatnot. Was he from a poor background? Because Trump, that would be your only difference.
That'd be the difference.
Yeah, he was the son of a tailor who then ventured out in the world and made money, and then came back and picked up his girlfriend in a weird scene. Very weird scene, because the scene plays like he should be a 22-year-old who's gone out into the workforce and earned some money, and now he's picking up his girl because she was there with him when he founded all of this stuff. So they were married before he became famous. But he's supposed to be like 22 or 23 when he goes to pick up Michelle Williams to marry her, and it's Hugh Jackman. He's 50. It's obviously 50 years old. So stupid.
Guardians of the Galaxy made Kurt Russell young. Why can't you get the Marvel movies in here? Didn't they do that with Robert Downey Jr. too?
They did that with Michael Douglas as
well. Yeah, I'm upset this movie exists. I actually would not let my sister take my kids to see it. Nice. She was like, fine, I'll take them to Ferdinand. I'm like, nope, bullfighting, not doing that. Actually, she got sick, but I would have let her go to Ferdinand because I'm a hypocrite. Downsizing with Matt Damon, Christoph Waltz, and Kristen Wiig, directed by Alexander Payne. And it's not the kind of movie you expect from Alexander Payne, because this is definitely kind of a sci-fi conceit. The idea here is that people willingly get shrink down to 5 inches tall to live in these newfangled towns. It's kind of a way of battling back against the environment that's kind of being killed by overpopulation. If you shrink down to 5 inches tall, you don't need as much from the world, and so you actually become richer if you do this. If you choose to go to 5 inches tall, and Damon and his wife decide to do that, and then she abandons him, leaves him there, and he's all alone, 5 inches tall, and he's got to get a job because he got divorced. And I kept waiting for this movie to kick in. Like the first part of it is like it takes a while to really kind of kick in. It establishes how lame his life is and how stuck he is and how bored he is. And then something just kind of started to work on me in the second half of the movie. They take a trip to Norway or Norway, and they meet the guy who came up with the plan, and there's a worry that the world is going to end, and there's a whole lot of things getting introduced. A character named played by Hong Chow comes into the story, and she's a very unique, very different kind of love interest that you really don't expect. And the relationship that she and Matt Damon carry on is really smart and unexpected, and I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed a lot of this movie, especially the second half. After Matt Damon kind of goes on a drug trip, the movie starts to really kick in for me there at that point. And I became really engaged in it, and it became kind of, as much as it's not a typical Alexander Payne movie, at that point it kind of becomes an Alexander Payne movie. Yeah, I got to see this one too. I feel like I like the idea better than the movie, but at the same time, I agree it does pick up. I do like the chemistry between Matt Damon and what's her name. I'm sorry, I'm not going to remember it. But there's a scene towards the end, or at least like dialogue is changed, that's just so hilarious that I'm not even going to say it on the show because it's worth seeing for yourself. But it's watchable. I liked it. I thought I was going to like it more, I guess. But it is a neat idea. And I'm just not sure what I like better, the idea or the movie. And I think I like the idea better. But I don't know. I guess I was expecting this to be like one of the best movies of the year, like one of my top 1 or 2. And instead it's probably, maybe in the lower top 10, just outside of it, somewhere in there. And
that's where it was for me, yeah. Just outside the top 10. It's certainly on the realm of what Alexander Payne has directed before, like
right.
Sideways or The Descendants. This is on the lower end of his work. I like everything else he's done more than this, but I've liked everything that he's done.
It's watchable the whole way through. And I wish Rick Moranis was in it, but other than that, he played the creator. That'd have been great if she was the guy who created
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids cinematic universe. Yeah.
That has nothing to do with
No,
it.
no.
But, I mean, it's a neat idea. I mean, seriously, really, if you were to shrink, your money would be worth a lot more. But I don't know. There's a lot there, and it all works. It's all effective. It just, I don't know, it just kind of is what it is, I guess.
This is the one that I would have seen in the theater had I been able to make it because of the idea and the director.
Darkest Hour.
Yes, Darkest Hour with Gary Oldman playing Winston Churchill. This takes place in the same time frame as Dunkirk. This is the setup to Dunkirk, essentially. We actually see him sending out the order for the boats to go to Dunkirk to bring the soldiers back. So this is like they're extensions of each other. But the idea here is that we're finding out just at the start of World War II, as Germany is moving its way toward France and into France, that this is the moment when Winston Churchill was chosen to be their war prime minister, and he was not anybody's first choice. The prince, Ben Mendelsohn's character, specifically says that this is not the guy I want. Why can't I have the guy I want? But they settle for Churchill because that's who politically is popular enough to get through. He comes in with a very bad reputation. He's got a poor military record. He's a risk taker, but that's the kind of guy that they want at this moment. And Gary Oldman is incredible in this movie. He's just so engaging and fascinating and inspiring, and that's relatively true to Winston Churchill. The things that I don't like are the moments that they pretend are true, and that's really bothersome to me. There's a scene on a train where where Churchill just wanders off from his driver and decides to take the train to Parliament, and there's no historical statement that this ever happened. I have a hard time believing that
If
it happened.
it had happened, there would be. We would have known.
There were rumors that this happened, but there's no actual documented. People said there's no witness statement that said I saw Churchill on the train. And on the train, he has this encounter with the people, and he's talking to the people, and there's a black guy on the train. And I've listened to stories about Winston Churchill. He was a virulent racist. But this movie has him shaking the man's hand and listening to him and taking his name and remembering his name when he goes to talk about it in Parliament and inspire his fellow politicians to go to war. And it pissed me off. It pissed me off that they tried to turn this guy, who, whether he's a good leader or not, he made a lot of mistakes. He was not, as much as he's remembered as a hero, his mistakes are innumerable. He extended World War II by 2 years by just making one bad decision. A bad decision that he based off of the testimony of his best friend. Not any of his military leaders, not any of his fellow politicians. His best friend gave him a bad recommendation, and he followed it, and the war lasted 2 years longer because of it. This movie lets him off the hook. It makes him seem like kind of a cuddly grandpa who's really heroic and inspiring. And no, he wasn't. He wasn't that. Don't stop lying. That said, Joe Wright is an incredible director. He knows how to set a scene. He knows how to create tension, and if this were a fiction film, we'd be talking about one of the best movies of the year. But it's not a fiction film. This is a movie that purports to be historic, and in that way, I can't abide it. I can't call this one of the best movies of the year. I can call it one of the best performances by Gary Oldman, and I can appreciate how well made it is. But as a historical document, it's horribly flawed.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to see this one too, just out of curiosity. It's hard to defend the movie when, but I don't know. I just keep comparing it to The Greatest Show. It just seems like this one at least is aware. I don't know, maybe not.
It's just it's much better made,
right?
And there's a little bit more care to it, but it does pretend that Churchill was always a good guy.
Oh, they don't have any garbage in his life at all.
The thing that they focus on that might surprise people are his vulnerable moments. That he wasn't always this valiant hero. That he did talk about possibly negotiating with Germany, but
that's not a flaw. It just makes him more cuddly,
more human.
That's disappointing. And that leads us to father figures. I just want an order of box office grosses. So as you guys, I'm sure, are happy to see father figures did not do well.
Yeah, I'm very happy to see this movie fail. This movie wants you to believe that Owen Wilson and Ed Helms are twins who were born to Glenn Close as their mother. Which part of that is more is more fake? I don't know.
I can see Owen Wilson being there.
Maybe. But basically, on her wedding day, she's marrying Harry Shearer. She decides to tell her sons that she doesn't actually know who their father is, and they decide to take a road trip to, based off of the evidence that she gives them, to see if they can find their father. They think it might be football player Terry Bradshaw. They think it might be J.K. Simmons. They think it might be this police officer in Boston. So they take this trip all over the country, and nothing happens that isn't completely predictable and utterly moronic. And it's based off, again, that comedy of awkward pauses that I was talking about before, because everybody says something really awkward. You know, everybody loves talking about how great Glenn Close was in bed. And you've seen that joke in the trailer. That joke happens at least 3-4 times in the movie about how great in bed she was. At the very least, they're not shaming her, I guess. There's something to be said for that. But beyond that, though, none of the jokes are funny. There's not a single laugh in this entire movie. I think I smiled once when Cat Williams did something, and that was basically the only time I was remotely happy during this god-awful piece of shit movie. Ed Helms just makes the worst decisions. I mean, this and Vacation, I don't know what it is with him. He can't seem to pick a movie anymore.
Who's the father?
Oh, you want me to spoil it? I'll tell you.
I don't give a shit.
I'm not planning on seeing it.
They don't know.
That's kind of what I thought. That's a cop-out.
It's such a cop-out. It's such bullshit. And Glenn Close actually isn't their mother. There's your twist.
How does she not know that they didn't come out of her? She was there.
She knew. She told them later on that they were adopted. She wanted them to go on this road trip together to spend time together. They were actually born to a woman who was actually at a clinic to get an abortion, but then she decided not to get an abortion, but she was really poor and she died during pregnancy, so Glenn Close took her kids.
Jesus Christ.
I'm going to avoid saying all of the things that are going through my head, but yeah.
What kind of childish morons just keep running up to people and going, "You're my dad"? That's the whole line. No build up. No. This is a sensitive conversation. Nope. You're my dad. And then Bradshaw goes, "You guys are my sons," and that's it. And your mom was great in bed. I loved fucking her.
Woohoo!
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of the pitch meeting for this, and people actually being on board. Even like business people who don't know anything should know better than
know that you don't have an ending.
Like twins, but poorly made, you know?
The movie ends. I'm going to just blow this off. What the hell? The movie ends with them, like, Owen Wilson plays a model who lived his entire life.
What? Oh, my God. Once again, the pitch meeting is killing me here, but go on.
He's lived off of his entire life of this one gig where he got his image as a surfer on the side of a beer bottle, and that's paid his entire life. And he loses his job, so now he's got no money, and we never get there's nothing ever happens that's going to turn that around for him, except at the end of the movie, it cuts to 1 year later, and they invented an app of some sort that made them millions of dollars. They don't even tell us what the app does. It has nothing to do with their journey. It's just they invented an app, and it made them millions of dollars, and everything's okay now.
I'm starting to figure out the pitch meeting. Like, well, we got Owen Wilson and Ed Helms and Terry Bradshaw. And okay, you got stars. You can make it. That's kind of what.
Put your top five. Who's your top five?
Worked out perfect that was the worst movie of the weekend in terms of gross that was new. That our top five is father figures in movies. Did you see it one on Twitter or not yet?
Yeah, let me pull that up.
All right, I'll start with Jason from New Mexico. He had, in no particular order, Jack Torrance from The Shining, Homer Simpson from The Simpsons movie, Frank Parker from We Are What We Eat, Bishop from Alien, and Big Ronnie from The Greasy Strangler. Got it?
Hunter on my Twitter feed had Mufasa, Obi-Wan, Gandalf, George Banks from Father of the Bride, and Vito Corleone.
Yeah, I did want to look at Josh's before I decided to put a Godfather character in there or not.
Spoiler alert, I did not.
Well, no, I knew you didn't, but I want to see how many alien characters were in here.
There are no alien characters.
I had Mickey from Rocky, Marlin from Finding Nemo, Major Iceman from The Dirty Dozen, David Drayton from The Mist, and Noah Levenstein from American Pie, with an honorable mention for Harry Stamper just to piss John off from Armageddon.
Fuck Armageddon.
He's a great father figure in that movie, though.
Yeah, sure.
Decides to die. Josh?
The David Drayton choice is actually a pretty fun one. Yeah, that's interesting on many
Right
levels.
move. In the time. 5 minutes later, it's not.
Right, right. Me, number 5 is Man. That's his character's name. Viggo Mortensen in The Road. I've talked too much about that movie. Won't go into it. 4 is Sean, last name something, from Good Will Hunting and Robin Williams' character. 3, Mr. Miyagi from The Karate Kid, specifically the first one. I mean, that's where it's the best of the movies, as well as he shows his chops off a little bit. And 2, Obi-Wan, the Alec Guinness version from Episode 4, A New Hope. And number 1 would be Atticus Finch in To Kill a Mockingbird, the result of our first Christmas exchange. Seeing that was actually a very transformative moment for me. I needed that movie at that particular time, and Atticus Finch, although it's popular to say, is definitely the father figure that I would prefer to be like.
The only reason he's not on my list is because it's Almost Famous. That scene where she's telling him he didn't do it alone.
Okay, yeah.
Sean?
Sorry, just a second while I pull up my list. Such a stupid list. I've got Liam Neeson as Aslan in The Chronicles of Narnia. Liam Neeson as Henri Ducard, or Ra's al Ghul from Batman. I've got Liam Neeson as Daniel in Love Actually.
If I figure it out.
I've got Liam Neeson from Taken and Taken 2.
That's a nice Liam Neeson list.
Taken was on every list I looked at. In hindsight, Sean from Good Will Hunting would have been good. Obviously, The Road as well.
Yeah,
but The Mist kind of covers the same thing.
We just talked a couple weeks ago. Michael Stuhlbarg's role in Call Me By Your Name isn't.
Yeah.
I should have put that as an honorable mention, if not on the list. I specifically mentioned how great of a father character he was.
Yeah, I watched every movie this week, so I didn't have time to find a list.
You're forgiven. I'm not.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event for the linear, legitimate, and universally recognized, undisputed classic.
Oh, yeah, J.K. Simmons' character in Juno was a good father.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Anyway, our undisputed classic this week is Love Actually, because it's Christmas.
Yeah, and my sister watches this movie every Christmas. I saw this the weekend it opened in a crowded theater. It was packed. It was the week before. It was a preview screening where I saw this. And like I said, full house and an incredible experience. People were just filled with joy watching this movie, aside from the parents who brought kids.
Yeah. Whoops.
This is not a sweet and cuddly movie, folks. This is an R-rated comedy. And, a lot of people found that out the hard way, which I like.
So to speak.
But this is a number of intersecting stories. No real one star. Aside maybe Hugh Grant a little bit as the British Prime Minister. Who falls in love with his assistant, and then there's Liam Neeson, who's dealing with the death of his wife and a son that's not really that is adopted, essentially. Just lots of really clever stuff. Emma Thompson and Alan Rickman are a couple, and there's a lot of strain there, a lot of beauty in that set. Laura Linney is a woman with a brother who's mentally impaired and just makes her life hell, but she loves him. There's a lot of just really great stuff in this movie, and there's a lot of bits of business in this movie, but they're all about love, and they all work in their own way.
In its own British way. Richard Curtis and producers Tim Bevan and Eric Fellner, whenever I see their names on a picture of working title films, I know that there's going to be something about it that's inherently British or made in such a fashion where you can tell that Brits have made that film. I hope that makes sense to listeners and both of you, because I think of Bridget Jones' Diary, Notting Hill, Four Weddings and a Funeral, all Richard Curtis or produced by them. And then you can even go to some spy films, that are specifically done by them. Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, etc. I think Darkest Hour is produced by Bevan and Fellner as well. About Time. All of these films have a specific quality about them and a personality. And in this one, it's like the best example of all of that personality. I find it interesting that Richard Curtis thinks that Love Actually is a bit of a mess. And he says that it's not exactly what I hoped it would be, but its chaotic storytelling nature for me kind of works. It works in tune with the score in this film. If you listen to it a little closely, not the musical pieces that are in it, because some of those we can leave out. It's not necessary, but the score to this movie builds a little bit. It's underlying, and then the stories start to get a bit more intense and resonant. And you wonder, for example, what Keira Knightley and Andrew Lincoln have to do with each other. And fans of The Walking Dead, as my girlfriend was saying, no, that is not Andrew Lincoln. Ha-ha, yes it is.
Took me a while.
The score builds with the story to the point where you've got like a climax that's like 10 minutes long. And for a lot of movies, I think people would say this is too much. End the movie already, right? Because there's a number of times where you could say this isn't wrapped in a nice tight little bow. For example, the Prime Minister and his woman, played by Martine McCutcheon, I think is her name, is my favorite character in this movie. I just adored her. And you could have ended it right there, I suppose, on stage. They've kissed. Okay, movie over, right? But no, there's something else there. The movie's bookended at the airport, and it's treated sweetly. That's the best unfortunate noun or way that I can describe it is sweet scenes. And this movie has been, I don't want to say bastardized, but commercialized in such a way where it's like the feel-good comedy of all time or something, or the best romantic comedy that there ever was. It's not the case. It's an adult story that doesn't have access for children. I mean, it's got kids in it, and they serve the plot in many ways, but it's all about how we work out what love is once you're mature enough to understand what it's all about. And set around Christmas time, where people are often conflicted to the point where they forget to experience Christmas, which I've started to recognize the past couple of years. It's gone, and then I'm like, wait, I love this time of year. Like, it's Christmas Eve is my favorite day. I forget about it, and then it's gone. Watching this before Christmas Eve, I was like, oh yeah, this is good. I'm remembering everything that is wonderful about this time of year, and it all centers around being a little more mature with your feelings and how to best allocate your emotional resources. And I'm taking the film probably deeper than it was ever intended to be, but that's what it means to me. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, definitely a top 100. But most interesting, because we've already praised the film on the show, is the first-time watcher. Very seriously, what you thought about it means more than either of our opinions.
I think I compared it to Shawshank Redemption, which sounds really weird.
Yes.
But when you say bastardize or commercialize, that's exactly kind of what... It's hard to go into this and not be affected by that, watching that. Because a lot of people put this on a very high pedestal, and it's a good movie. Every little story is neat. I specifically like the kid stuff. The very successful Hugh Grant. He's a successful character, in case you didn't hear other podcasts about... Hugh Grant can't pull off a successful. Only Russell Crowe can. Just kidding. But no, it was good. I liked it, but it was just like, because of the commercialization of it and how on a pedestal it is for everybody else, it's hard to. I'm not able to get that like the people who saw it, before it became that. I think, and that's to me why it's the Shawshank Redemption of romantic comedies, which is weird, but does kind of make sense, in that way. Because it's not a bad movie. Neither is Shawshank Redemption. It's just not what I don't know. I was kind of expecting it to be something like what, Annie Hall would be or Chasing Amy. Or for me, that was a movie that kind of blew me away in terms of a romantic comedy. And this was just a neat movie that I kind of hadn't really seen before. And with neat things in it, the Liam Neeson stuff kind of was just weird because knowing what happened to him later on. But yeah, it was good. But again, I'm not probably going to watch it again on my own. I won't not watch it. But.
Did you think about watching it with your kids?
No.
So you knew it was already.
Because we've talked about it before and about the nudity and stuff. So, and I wasn't really sure what it was going to be. And then all of a sudden, just like, I mean, it works. It's funny, and it's you don't need to take it out of the movie. But if you take it out of the movie, you could probably make a PG-13.
Yeah. With a little bit of alteration of Bill
Some
Nighy's dialogue and whatnot.
But yeah, and the Bill Nye stuff was fun too.
Oh yeah, that was so great.
That was the first time I'd ever seen him in a film, too. And so everything after that has been so subpar compared to this, save like About Time is a pretty great role for him.
Yeah.
But you had mentioned seeing a preview screening of this back in 2003, I think it was, and I saw this, the rare instance where I was in the theater on Christmas Day, seeing this with a number of people, and the theater was so packed that we had to sit in the front row. And I was thinking, but this is it's a British romantic comedy. What's going on here? I don't understand. But it really did seem like everyone in the crowd was really affected by the movie. 2 years removed from the terrorist attacks or whatnot, maybe that has something to do with it. It's not like we didn't experience a comedy or a romance that was effective since then. But I do think that it was kind of like, oh yeah, this is cool. This is why we're human beings, as opposed to all of the other stuff the past 2 years.
It's definitely the romantic comedy that everybody lands on. It seems like this is the one that just kind of everybody references and I'm starting to get to learn that's what the cue card thing was. I'd seen that before in SNL and other places as well, and to have Rick Grimes doing it was even weirder. Literally, when I first saw him, I'm like, kind of looks like, no, maybe it is. And yeah, sure enough. But yeah, easy to watch. I'd recommend it, but try not to be aware of it, I guess. And don't show your kids.
No.
Ray, this is 1987. Did you know that a girl can be whatever she wants to be?
I know. My mom's a plumber.
That explains a lot about you, Ray.
This is crazy because we have like 3 times as many movies as normal, and we're just pounding through this episode. We're normally like an hour and 15 at this point, and we're only at 45 minutes.
Oh, really? Wow.
That is unlike us.
There's no fat on this episode at all. All right. You have them ready to go?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
There are 2 not really well-known movies. One of them, it looks like it's an English movie starring Maggie Smith called The Lonely Passion of Judith Hearn. Not something that you can find anywhere. I'm trying to make that clear when I'm making out my 1988 list that I hope to have done this week, of course, that it's not some of those lesser films I don't necessarily need to include unless there's some notoriety behind it that I'm already aware of. And also what appears to be an animated film. It is an animated called Pinocchio and the Emperor of the Night. It made like $3.5 million. So by no means something that was written off the face of the earth, but it's not a Disney animated film. It's one of those like Legends of Oz or something like that, I'm sure, that was stuck in 1987 that had Disney properties or had legendary properties that kind of got temporary rights, probably paid more than the film's eventual gross to obtain as well. I don't know if either of you 2 remember that.
Nope.
Probably not. Okay. But of course, Barry Levinson's film starring Robin Williams called Good Morning Vietnam debuted this weekend in 87. And I really, really like his performance in this movie. Adrian Cronauer is somebody that if you go into journalism at all, they're going to talk about him and his influence on the Armed Forces Radio Project. And as a journalism student and trying to get into some broadcasting, we had a term paper. This is my second go-around at college, like postgraduate work. I'm in a class and they say, do a term paper, and I decided to make it on Adrian Cronauer because of all of the material that was out there about him and his personality and the situation in Vietnam. And I was drawing a lot of theses that perhaps his work in Vietnam really was more important than originally let on because of the break that he gave some of these soldiers by being as charismatic as he was. Now, this film doesn't necessarily portray him as like some kind of savior. This isn't like a puff piece for a lesser known person, because it shows Robin Williams going through his own struggles dealing with Vietnam at a slight distance as well. I think the film is really well made. It's Barry Levinson when Barry Levinson was Barry Levinson, if that makes sense. And Robin Williams really at the top of his game. I believe he was nominated for an Academy Award for his performance. And at times, this film, while not necessarily a straight comedy, is very, very funny to listen to, and that's Robin Williams coming through. Cronauer, the man, is more like a Wolfman Jack kind of guy, as opposed to Robin Williams. But this is more Robin Williams than that. I hope that makes sense.
It's way more Robin Williams. Adrian Cronauer pretty much just dismisses anything that Robin Williams did. He said he would have gone to Leavenworth if he'd have done the things that Robin Williams was doing in those broadcasts. He also was not against the war at all. He was actually pro-Vietnam. And if you want this really ruined, he was the co-chair of Bush Cheney 2004, was Adrian Cronauer.
Freaking liberal media.
See, this is what happens when I do a report in 2003 and I find this crap out in 2017.
What'd you get on that report?
Oh, well, it's me. I got an A+. I kid.
I mean, I don't necessarily think it ruins the movie, to be fair. I mean, because it's such a good movie and it's such a good performance, because Robin Williams is so very, very funny. But, yeah, it's not accurate.
Yeah, and it's weird how accuracy sometimes matters and doesn't. You know, I mean, like Braveheart, I don't really care how inaccurate it is. It works for me. But you know, something like the two movies we talked about earlier, it matters. And I don't know what it is about, what it is, a good filmmaking, good acting, where it comes and goes, but sometimes it matters and sometimes it doesn't. And I don't know how to answer that. But that's all we have, believe it or not. Next week, we're going to do Shape of Water, Molly's Game, All the Money in the World, and hopefully Phantom Thread, right?
Florida Project. Phantom Thread is probably a couple weeks away yet.
All right, so Florida Project, that's right. And then our classic's going to be Boogie Nights, because Mark Wahlberg's in a movie, right?
Yes, All the Money in the World.
And then maybe if Phantom Thread does come, that'll tie into. But if not, oh well. And then instead of a top 5, we're going to do our top 10 movies of the year. I probably will not have seen The Post by then, nor will I have seen Phantom Thread if that doesn't come. So those will be off of mine. But I don't know. Do you have an idea what your list is in your head, Josh?
Yeah, I've got it in a file that isn't with me, but I have done a top 10, and of course, it's been speckled by some blockbusters because of the fact that I haven't been able to see a lot of the smaller films. For this year, seems like, boy, I've seen everything that I possibly can, but I still haven't seen a lot. So that tells you, as your kids get older and they get involved in more crap, how little you can actually devote to free time and how much you value sleep.
Yeah, I'm going on fumes because I have to go at night, and at some point I'm going to hit a wall here, and I'm like, January's coming, but then I'm moving in January, so there's just a lot. Yeah. We'll see. But yeah, I need to put mine together because it seems like, I think I've mentioned this before, whether there's a bunch of doubles this year or a bunch of home runs, whatever it is, it's a bunch of the same thing are really close, so it's hard for me to actually say what's better and what's worse.
Not a clear standout. That's what I was having trouble with my list.
There was for me.
Well, a big sick for me, but but yeah, that's what's going to be next week's show. Our Patreon supporters, I want to thank them. We have a new one that I need to look up real quick. Oh man, forgot all about that. We'll skip over we'll start with Charlie Messing, the key grip. Right here. Where is it? Oh, I didn't delete it, did I? All right, we'll skip over the character actors for now and go to Corey and special effects.
May the Force be with you.
Jason from New Mexico is the associate producer.
What This is crazy. You want me to hit you?
That's right.
What, like in the face?
Surprise me.
Our executive producer, Uncle Jeff.
You talking to me? You talking to me?
And our movie star, Dave Severs.
I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
And bear with me while I look up our character actors. One of them is Josh. I can't log in. Why can't I do this?
That's a long last name.
Yeah, I'll play their music and then I'll get the name.
I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
Christina Cato is also a character actor.
Welcome,
So
Christina.
Thank you for coming on board, and we appreciate it. Like I said, next week we have another packed show. It'll be our year in review as well, and stick around afterwards for Flick Shirt.
That ought to do it. Thanks very much, Ray. And we're the three best friends that anybody could have. We're the three best friends that anyone could have. We're the three best friends that anyone can have. And we'll never, ever, 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 ever leave each other. We're the best three friends that anybody can have. I mean, the three best friends that anybody can have. That's right, the three best friends.
And hopefully Flick Shirt works better for me than Yahoo did for my mail. As always, we'll re-rank Love Actually and see where we get that to go and see what we have for time. Love Actually or Terminator Salvation?
Love Actually.
Love Actually.
Love Actually or Tropic Thunder?
Love Actually.
Same.
I don't know where I'd go with that one, but since you guys did it, I'll just stick with you. Love Actually or A Bug's Life?
Love Actually.
Same.
Yeah. Love Actually or A Beautiful Mind?
Love Actually.
Same.
I'd go Beautiful Mind on that one. Love Actually or Reservoir Dogs?
Reservoir Dogs.
Love Actually.
We'll go Reservoir Dogs. Love Actually or Groundhog Day?
Love Actually.
Groundhog Day.
We'll go Groundhog Day as well. Love Actually or Iron Man?
Iron Man.
Love Actually.
That is... I'd probably watch Iron Man before I'd watch it, but... I could see either way. Let's see. Come on. Love Actually or... So close to loading. Toy Story. Love
Toy
Actually
Story.
or Toy Story?
Ooh, Love Actually, but very close.
I'd go Toy Story as well. Love Actually is now our 36th favorite movie.
All right.
Interesting.
Want to do some random ones just because we have time?
Oh,
Sure.
yeah. By all
Let's do
means.
it.
The French Connection or Taxi Driver?
Ooh, that is tough. Taxi Driver.
The French Connection. But it is a difficult decision, just so you're both aware.
Oh, no, it's Taxi Driver for me as well, but because French Connection's more, I think we watched that more recent than Taxi Driver. Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels or The Ring?
Let's see. Which do I hate less? Lock, Stock.
Yeah, I hate voting for Guy Ritchie, too, but yeah, Lock, Stock.
You'd probably go The Ring, but I like Lock, Stock, too. Rush Hour 2 or Monsters, Inc.?
Monsters, Inc.
Monsters, Inc.
Monsters, Inc. as well. One Floor of the Cuckoo's Nest or Requiem for a Dream?
Cuckoo's Nest.
Cuckoo's Nest.
Yeah, I agree. Casablanca or The Sixth Sense?
Casablanca.
Casablanca.
Yep. It's Complicated or Conan the Barbarian? Two movies you never thought you'd hear in the same sentence.
It's complicated.
Whatever the Nancy Myers movie is, I'm always picking the opposite. So Conan the Barbarian it is, even though it's just awful.
Man, I'll go It's Complicated, but I don't. Toy Story 3 or Big Daddy?
Toy Story 3.
Agreed. Be honest, Bob. We're curious about this one.
Toy Story.
Okay,
3.
okay.
That's my favorite Toy Story movie. Goodfellas or Reservoir Dogs?
Damn. Goodfellas.
Reservoir Dogs.
Goodfellas for me as well. Sorry. I really like Goodfellas. The Village or Men in Black 2?
Men in Black 2.
The Village.
I'm a closet Village fan as well. Futurama Into the Green Yonder. That's not a movie.
Skip that one, yeah.
The 40-Year-Old Virgin or Pan's Labyrinth?
Ooh.
That's
really tough, yeah. I really like the 40-Year-Old Virgin a lot. I would watch that again in a moment.
Pan's Labyrinth is an experience in and of itself.
Yeah. I guess because I'd never watch Pan's Labyrinth again, unless we do it for the show. I would go with 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Funny because I considered mentioning it as a classic possibility because of The Shape of Water next week. That would have been the obvious one
We've
to
done
do
it
there.
before, haven't we?
Pan's Labyrinth? Not
We've
that I
talked about
remember,
it on the
but
show.
We've definitely talked about it. That would be my choice for this one.
I think I'll go Pan's Labyrinth, although I agree I'd watch 40-Year-Old Virgin first. But they were just, I don't know. Three Kings or Alien Resurrection?
Three Kings.
Three Kings. Ah. See, it's on record. I voted against an Alien movie.
Legally Blonde 2 or Galaxy Quest?
Legally Blonde 2 isn't very good. I love the original, though. But I guess I'll go Galaxy Quest.
Agreed.
Me too. The Royal Tenenbaums or Beetlejuice?
Royal Tenenbaums.
Beetlejuice.
I would go Beetlejuice, even though that's the one Wes Anderson movie
Yes!
I like the most. The Hangover or The Matrix? I'm going The Hangover, of course. You guys go
Yeah,
Matrix?
We all
I'm
know
with
where
you. I'm with
we
you on The
land on
Hangover.
this.
Oh, you're a Hangover?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. God damn it, Family Guy is not a movie. Dodgeball or Chicken Run?
Dodgeball.
Chicken Run.
Really?
Oh, it's magnificent. Love Lord.
It's good, but I love watching Dodgeball.
I technically haven't seen Chicken Run, so we will just...
Mel Gibson is the lead voice, man.
Now I need to go see it.
Yeah. I'll let you borrow it. I got it.
Of course you will.
Of course I do. Right next to Babe.
That's a good one, too. A Beautiful Mind or From Dusk Till Dawn, 1996.
A Beautiful Mind.
Agreed.
Yeah. Grindhouse or Alien Resurrection?
Grindhouse.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm. Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, or The Godfather?
The Godfather.
You can do it. It's okay.
It's Ace Ventura. Oh, man. I should be voted off of this show. Just for saying that. Like, I understand that there's some gravity to saying that, even if you believe that it's true that you'd rather watch Ace Ventura and somebody talking out of their butt versus cinematic masterpiece, apparently. Whoops.
That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Kung Fu Panda or The Fifth Element?
Fifth Element.
Fifth Element.
Sure. The Darjeeling Limited or Big?
Big.
Big.
Big. Gran Torino or Being John Malkovich?
Being John Malkovich.
Agreed.
I really like Gran Torino, but I agree. Moneyball or Twister?
Moneyball.
Moneyball.
Moneyball's pretty awesome. Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, or Sherlock Holmes, 2009?
Sherlock Holmes.
Ace Ventura.
Did you guys watch that Jim Carrey documentary on Netflix?
Oh, yeah, it's awesome. That is an excellent documentary.
It is messed up.
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
It's the behind-the-scenes stuff with Jim Carrey when he did Man on the Moon.
Mm-hmm.
And he stayed in character as whoever he was playing that day. And and then this him being interviewed, and it's, I don't know, it's just fascinating because it annoys me when people do that. But he takes it to a new level.
He's got an interesting point to make throughout about identity, and that's really interesting. There's a lot of stuff that happened, like I guess earlier this year, where people are saying that Jim Carrey's crazy. He's lost his mind. He's saying all these weird things. No, he's actually pretty smart, and he's actually talking about some existential ideas and theories, and that's really what he's about. Is not necessarily that he's crazy.
Right.
It just may sound crazy to you if you don't want to actually think about what he's talking about.
But I think if you watch this movie, all those crazy things he's saying make way more sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's almost like he's hiding from what he is by being Andy Kaufman all the time. I don't know. It was just very fascinating. I definitely recommend checking that out. But I guess I'll go Sherlock Holmes. Pleasantville or Monsters, Inc.?
Monsters, Inc.
Soft spot for Pleasantville?
What? Say that again?
You had a soft spot for Pleasantville?
I do. There's a couple beautiful moments in that movie, and that's Gary Ross, Ocean's 11 or Ocean's 8 guy. Monsters Inc. but by a hair.
Yeah, I agree. Let's see. The Bourne Identity or Little Miss Sunshine?
Bourne Identity.
Agreed.
I think I'd go Little Miss Sunshine.
I like that movie a lot, but I really like Bourne Identity.
This will be interesting. 310 to Yuma, 2007, or Groundhog Day.
Oh, 310 to Yuma.
Groundhog Day.
Yeah, that's what I knew was going to happen. I think I got to go Groundhog Day. When Harry Met Sally or Grindhouse?
I really hate the Robert Rodriguez part of Grindhouse, so I'm going to go When Harry Met Sally. As much as I love Death Proof, if it were just Death Proof, I'd pick Death Proof.
Yeah. This is a tough one. Different genres and everything. Ooh, we just watched When Harry Met Sally not that long ago. I'll go with that one, but barely.
Yeah, it's hard because it is two movies. But I'll just agree because I don't care that much. Scream 2 or Pleasantville?
Scream 2.
Pleasantville.
I'll go Pleasantville. This will be the shortest episode in a long time.
How is that possible?
I don't know. I mean, we did do
You guys didn't
two
go to,
shows.
You didn't go to any movies. This is all on you.
Actually, that's not true at all. Here's how it's possible.
Quivering lips.
Here's how it's possible. Jumaji, Pitch Perfect 3, Father Figures, The Greatest Showman.
I would have gone to downsizing.
And downsizing, not having a whole lot to talk about without... I really can't ruin it.
Yeah.
There's just not... And I don't know, there just wasn't a lot to talk about on these movies. All right.
Bob was trying to say, like, yeah, now we got to get through these 13 new movies. And so I shut up about Luke Skywalker earlier, but
We could have gone for longer and still been fine. Last flick chart, and this is for Josh, so that'll be fun. District 9 or Field of Dreams?
Field of Dreams.
Field of Dreams is a top 10, so there you go.
All right. Bye, everybody.